I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
We all dream of success, but few are willing to embrace the struggles required to achieve it. The greatest minds, the highest performers, whether in business, sports, or life, don't fear failure. They fear stagnation. They understand that setbacks, struggles, and even humiliation are necessary steps toward improvement. The difference between those who stay the same and those who grow is how they handle failure, setbacks, and resistance. You can either fear these moments, or you can use them as fuel to get better.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
Most people never improve because they don't take the time to pause and reflect. In Time to Think, Nancy Klein writes, "The quality of everything we do depends on the quality of the thinking we do first." When we're constantly reacting to life, rushing from one thing to the next, we lose sight of the bigger picture. Champions in every field don't just work harder, they think smarter. They take time to step back, evaluate, and adjust. One of the most famous examples of this comes from Steve Jobs. In his legendary Stanford commencement speech, he shared how being fired from Apple was the best thing that ever happened to him. Instead of reacting emotionally, he stepped back, reflected deeply, and asked himself, "What do I truly love doing?" That moment of introspection led to the creation of Pixar, the iMac, the iPhone, and Apple's eventual dominance. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly sat down and reflected on your actions? Not just regretting past mistakes, but strategizing how to grow from them. It's the same principle we see in The Godfather, where Michael Corleone doesn't act impulsively, but instead takes time to think, observe, and then make a calculated move.
I don't like to see you come out to this clean country in your oily hair, dressed up in those silk suits. You try to pass yourselves off as decent Americans. I'll do business with you, but the fact is that I despise your masquerade, the dishonest way you pose yourself and your whole fucking family.
Senator, we're both part of the same hypocrisy. But never think it applies to my family.
All right. Some people have to play little games. You play yours. So let's just say that you'll pay me because it's in your interest to pay me. But I want your answer in the money by noon tomorrow. And one more thing. Don't you contact me again, ever. From now on, you deal with Turnbull. Open that door, son.
Senator, you can have my answer now if you like. My offer is this. Nothing. Not even the fee for the gaming license, which I would appreciate if you would put up personally.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's the pathway to it. The problem is, most people refuse to analyze their mistakes. They make excuses, blame circumstances, or ignore what went wrong. But in black box thinking, Matthew Syed argues, the single greatest obstacle to progress is not ignorance, but the illusion of knowledge. Let's look at Formula One racing. When a car crashes, the team doesn't dwell on whose fault it was. Instead, they meticulously break down every detail, analyzing what happened so they can improve. That's why Formula One cars are faster and safer than ever. Now think about your own life. How often do you stop to study your failures rather than just moving on? Do you write down what went wrong? Do you adjust your approach? Or do you just hope things get better next time? The greatest success stories belong to those who embrace failure as a learning tool. Growth isn't just about hard work. It's about knowing how to navigate challenges. Never Split the Difference teaches us that negotiation isn't about winning or losing. It's about understanding human nature. Chris Voss, a former FBI hostage negotiator, explains, "He who has learned to disagree without being disagreeable has discovered the most valuable secret of negotiation." Most people think negotiation is about arguing harder, raising their voice, or forcing the other person to back down. But the best negotiators in the world stay calm, listen, and control the emotions in the room. Chris Voss didn't negotiate in boardrooms, he negotiated for people's lives. When dealing with armed hostage takers, one wrong word could mean disaster. He mastered the ability to lower tension, read emotions, and guide conversations where he wanted them to go.
Do you think that successful negotiations are successful because of logic or arguments or reason or compromise? You're losing money. You're leaving millions of dollars on the table. And over the course of a lifetime, that could be true for everybody. Tactically, emotional, intelligent negotiation is the way you make great deals and the way you have great long-term relationships. And sometimes they miss that and they think that the problem is the person across the table. And that's why oftentimes people think of it as conflict and actually treat it as conflict. Negotiation is really about what people are making decisions based on what they care about, what's your passions. Every decision you make based on what you care about, which I'm afraid that by definition that makes decision-making an emotional. First of all, understanding where the other side's coming from, and especially emotionally, and then being able to feed it back to them in a way that they signal to you that you've got it right. Understand and demonstrate that understanding. There are a lot of negotiators that really will give in on a deal because being understood is more important than getting what they want. So once we completely understand where somebody's coming from, then with tactical empathy, we get a much better feel for exactly how they feel about things, how that drives them, and then how we can interact with the things that are driving them.
A perfect example of this in action, Nelson Mandela. Mandela spent 27 years in prison, yet when he was finally released, he didn't seek revenge. Instead, he negotiated with his enemies, bringing together a divided nation. He used the same principles Voss teaches: tactical empathy, patience, and psychological control. His ability to disagree without being disagreeable helped him turn a potential civil war into a peaceful transition of power. True power in negotiation isn't about speaking the loudest, it's about controlling the situation without letting emotions control you. The lesson here? Whether it's business, relationships, or personal growth, how you communicate determines your success. If you want to improve, you must learn to listen, understand, and adapt. There's no shortcut to greatness. Tim Grover in Winning says, "Winning isn't heartless, but you'll use your heart less." Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Serena Williams, these people became legends not because they were born gifted, but because they outworked everyone else. The world is filled with talented failures because talent means nothing without relentless effort. So ask yourself, Are you willing to do the hard work even when no one is watching? Because that's where champions are made.
Michael Jordan tells me one day he wants to be the best player that's ever played here. And I said, well, you got to work harder than you did in high school. He said, I worked as hard as everybody else. I said, oh, excuse me. I thought you just told me you want to be the best player to ever play here. He said, I'm going to show you. Nobody will ever work as hard as I will.
My mentality was to go out and win at any cost. If you don't want to live that regimented mentality, then you don't need to be alongside of me, because I'm going to ridicule you until you get on the same level with me. And if you don't get on the same level, then it's going to be hell for you.
Growth isn't magic, it's a choice. The willingness to reflect, embrace failure, master communication, and put in relentless effort. One of the most famous phrases said in The Shawshank Redemption is, get busy living or get busy dying, or which path will you choose?